He will wipe our eyes dry, take us up to His side, and forever we will be His, singing blessing and honor, and glory and power forever.
And when the ark would travel, Moses would say, "Arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered, and let them that hate you flee from you. For from Zion will go forth the Torah, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Blessed be he who in his holiness gave the Torah to his people Israel." Vayahi b'ntu Aharon ve'yomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oivecha v'yanusu l'sanecha v'panecha. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, u'devar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. that is not born Jewish is part of our ministry and is part of the Messianic movement and becomes part of the Messianic movement as a people and becomes part of this community, I look at it as a blessing because there are a few different ways that a Gentile can express their desire to be a part of what God calls and what we call the Messianic movement today. There are several ways to do it. One of the ways to do it is bar mitzvah, which has always been a rite, a ritual for young boys or girls that enter into adulthood at 12 or 13 years old in the Jewish community. But this is one of the ways. And so many times we have people that aren't Jewish that are adults, but they want to they've already connected in their heart, but they want to do something. They want to do something special. And so we've been blessed over the last few years to have some people that are not Jewish and have a bar or bat mitzvah, and it's always a wonderful event. And so this morning, I'm going to be honest. When I saw Walter take up that Torah and carry it, there was just something special. There was something special about his countenance, everything about him, as he walked and as he held the Torah. And I didn't even see his face, but there was just something about him when he was walking. It just made me feel real good. And I really got to that point where I was getting like, all right, hold it back, Alan, hold it back. Don't, because I was. And when Walter came all the way around here and he came back up to the stage, I saw his eyes were all teary-eyed and he was all welled up in it. And, it was like, just made me feel even more welled up with this feeling that it really is a wonderful thing. Because God has always wanted the people of the nations to come in to his house of prayer and to the movement that he had with his people Israel. And Isaiah 56 says, God says, my house of prayer will be a house of prayer for all nations. It was always his desire. It was never God's desire to separate the people when Messiah would come. It was always God's desire to bring everyone together. Okay, so I'm not saying anything. I said enough, I guess, this morning. So Walter is going to come up. Walter is going to be blessing us this morning. He's going to be doing his Haftarah blessings this morning, and he's going to read a portion of the Haftarah Parsha. Thank you, Walter. That was wonderful. Thank you. It was a short Parsha this morning. Okay, I'm going to make room for him here.
Good morning.
It's on, yes.
All right, you can hear me. Anywho. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar b'vim tovim v'ratza v'direhem anemarim ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Abba Batorah u'Moshe Avdo u'Yisrael Amo u'Venvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has selected good prophets and was pleased with their words, which were spoken truthfully. Blessed are you, O Lord, who chose the Torah, your servant Moses, your people Israel, and the prophets of truth and righteousness. Amen.
Amen.
Good. V'arba anashim ayu mitzorayim patak ashar Emru Ish El Rehu Ma Anaknu Yoshvim Po Admaknu Imarnu Navo Air Vira'a Ba'ir Vimatnu Sham V'im Yashvim Po Vimatnu Viata Leku Venipla El Makane Aram V'im Yikiunu Nikye V'im Yimitunu V'madnu Vayakumu B'neshef Le'avo El Makane Aram V'yavohu Akitse Makane Aram V'ine in Sham Ish. All right, I'm reading from 2 Kings 7:3. Now there were 6. 4 men with Tazarat at the entrance of the city gate, and they said to each other, "Why should we sit here till we die? If we say, it will be easier and if we sit still here, we will also die. So let's go and surrender to the army of Aram. If they spare our lives, we will live. And if they kill us, we will only die." They got up during the twilight to go up to the camp of Aram. But when they reached the outskirt of the camp of Aaron and saw no one, for Adonai had caused the army of Aram to hear the sound of the chariots and horses. It sounded like a huge army, and they said to each other, "The king of Israel must have hired the kings of the Hittite and the kings of the Egyptians to attack us." Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Sor Kol Olamim Sadik Bikol Adorot Ael Aneman Ano Aomer Viose Amedaber Vichayim Shikol Divarav Emet Vatzedek Ne'eman Atah Hu Adonai Eloheinu V'ne'anim divarecha vidavar echad bidvarecha akor lo yashu rekam ki el melech neman virakaman ata Baruch ata Adonai Ael Ane'eman Biko Divarav.
Congratulations. Walter, you are now a man. Walter has a few words. I'm just going to sit right over there.
All right.
It's all yours.
So, it's been a week. This is like, well, really, it's a lifetime in preparation to do this. God, one thing I wanted to say in saying a portion, the last word I said in the Hebrew is ish. Ish is someone of importance. It means man, but it was a man of importance, and the word I got was man of petition, purpose. And one thing I have to say, when I picked up the Torah, as you see, things just flow, and I wasn't expecting that. And people over the years have spoken into my life that I'm important, and I laughed at them. And so for me to stand here, walking into the camp of the righteous to show myself to be amongst you is awesome. Growing up, I didn't know anything about Judaism. And, God finds you wherever you are. He already knows you're not lost. He just finds you wherever you are. So basically, I'm from Jamaica, and like I said, I knew nothing about Judaism, and you'll have a cackle when I tell my story. So about 11 and a half, very important for 11 and a half year old, I migrated to the United States. I lived in New York for 26 years. This is very interesting. So, at about 17, they say I came to the Lord. But either whether it was before or not, I can't remember. It was very interesting. I walked by this church, and it's called the Brooklyn Tabernacle. And so I said, not knowing anything about Judaism, I said to myself, Brooklyn Tabernacle. Tabernacle is for Jews. I'm not going. So it was a theater before that, and fell and disappeared. And so lo and behold, I spent 20 years there. I sung in a choir. I was a teenager. I was on the team, overseer with the teams, mentor. I worked there at one point, so I didn't want to go there. But after my employment ended at the church, I started to do transportation, bringing people to and from the airport. Somewhere in between there was the first time I realized Jews in Jamaica. I went to an automotive dealership, and there was this man, and he was talking, and I was like, really? Are you kidding me? And he had on a kippah, but what was coming out of his mouth didn't make sense. They understood it, and so that's what turned on the light, and it just started to trickle. My first word, Jewish-wise, was hola. In Spanish, it means, hello. Some people means hey, whatever. But in Hebrew, it's actually a wave offering. When they would make a sacrifice, sometimes God tell them to wave it. And what I got in my mind was that, you know, like I was in South America and I was a mountain, like a single track, we just walk. And if I could see somebody in the distance, even though I couldn't physically, I couldn't speak to them, physically I could wave and say hello because they were important, you know. And that's the purpose of my message, is that each and one of us are important. We're here for a reason. And individually as well as corporately, here we call Mishpachah, the family of God. So that just started a light. And when I started doing transportation, then I met the world. That's when I got my education, Judaism-wise. And so, like I said, I didn't know any Jews. So as time went on, I realized they were all around me. I played with them. I slept with them. They were my family. My aunt's husband came from Costa Rica. He was Jewish, non-practicing. He even raised pigs. And he didn't do well, but the other people he taught did well because they kind of put a hex on him. So whatever he did, whatever he put his hand to didn't come to. And so when I was, before I left New York and I got my on education, as I would call it, I meant to, I purposed in my heart that when I come to Florida, I want to come to synagogue. And so I came to Florida, and I wasn't looking for a synagogue. And I also said that I would like to go to South America because I found out about Sephardic Jews. I've been to Miami. Is that good enough? So excuse me. So I came here to Florida in Palm Bay, and you know, I did other jobs and stuff. 2001 to me opened my eyes in a different level. When I was in New York in that tabernacle, we did prayer ministry, and I have also heard over the years that every corporation, every business, God placed a believer there for influence. And so in 2001, when 9/11 happened, twofold, my father helped erect that Twin Towers. I worked around that area, and even when I was in transportation, I used to come in and out of there with people. So people who died, I knew. People who died, matter of fact, one of the cops that died in the bottom of the subway was directing people. He went to my church. I knew him personally, and his wife. So it really affected me. But the most important thing, when I came and that happened, I realized that God had placed me here. Even though I didn't come here for that, but I knew that God had moved me for a purpose. And I met other people to encourage me in that. So that was wonderful. So moving forward, I got employment in different places. And one of the jobs I had, I was working at a church and doing custodial. And it was very interesting to me that the work itself was easy. Working with the employees was hard in a church. And by that time, I started to come here. It only took me 5 years. So as I came and God started to work, I started to separate myself. I started wearing kippah at work, and I wear my tzitzit, and I felt it was a filter for me to keep me, to instruct me. And it also made me a witness to other people, and it encouraged me, because sometimes I could sit down and talk through my lunch about God, like people have questions. And one of the times I was at work, and it was a day I was feeling low, and I went through the door, and there was two ladies, and they seen me with a kippah and the zitzi, and they says, "You're Jewish?" I said, "Yeah." So in my wallet, I always have cards for here. So they said, "Do you have a card at the synagogue or whatever?" And they said, "Sure, here you go." So I gave it to them, and they've been here ever since. CJ, his mother and his wife were the two. So that's a real encouragement that God placed me there to lead someone, as a light. And it's an awesome thing to be used by God. I don't know what's going to happen from here on, but I thank God that I got here, and for whatever happens from here on, I got to thank Him, because it's not me. I've constantly seen His hand over my leading me. The little Hebrew I know, His word says He will instruct you with His eye. It's one letter, ayin. And so He's always showed me things. Even when I was a young man, just came to the Lord at 17, I had to look around me and look at the friends I kept, because if I didn't keep the right friends, I wouldn't be here. So even then, it just struck me that, teenagers supposed to act wild, but the upbringing I had, even though you said it wasn't Jewish, I was more fearful of what would happen when I get home than what happens, if I got arrested or something like that. So today it's not like that, but it's kind of our fault, because we let the ball roll. Like, hey, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, but we still have to keep the standard. And I'll close with this: is that one of the things that we say every week, and God showed me, is the Via Hafta. This portion too, the Vav, you heard of the mark of the beast. It's actually Vav, 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 666. It's the sixth letter. And it's and. The Via Hafta is and you should love the Lord your God. But the Vav is also representative, like the menorah, because there's six candles, six on the, 3 on one side and 3 on the other, so there's 6. And Yeshua is in the middle. The light, he's a servant candle. So here I am. That's a heavy study to go into the menorah. But that light has been constant. In New York, I met someone who was blind, and she opened me up even more to the spirit world, in the sense that you think that people are blind, they can't see physically, but she blew my mind. Because no matter where I was, she knew what condition I was, if I was sad, happy, or whatever. If I got in an accident, she would know. And this is very interesting. She said, like a pastor is standing on the pulpit, Rabbi Bima, she would look at them and she would see light. We're the light of the world. It's literal. So, getting back to the Via Hafta, the only thing I like to say on that is the Vav and this is full of a lot of and, because God is saying, like, call you do something, and then it's and hold on, and then hold on, and. But the last letter is the most important, is the Tav. In the church, you learn Aleph, Alpha and Omega, but in Judaism, it's Aleph Tav, the beginning and the end. It's also cornerstone. Cornerstone also means beginning and the end. So the Torah is actually the origin of the cross. It also represents an X, but it's also a mark for the righteous. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'll tell you, it is really, it's a lot of work. You know, it really is. Thanks, Walt. You did a great job.